Hello, I'm Dan Fell, Chief Exec of Doncaster Chamber, and it's my pleasure to introduce this episode of the Knowledge and Skills Cast. Delivered by the South Yorkshire Chambers of Commerce, this podcast is a continuation of much of the thinking, research and insight that went into the production of our local skills improvement plan. Like that groundbreaking document, we'll be looking at what needs to be done to help our region maximise its potential when it comes to workforce and talent, while also helping you get to grips with the big changes that are happening in relation to skills across Doncaster, Sheffield, Barnsley and Rotherham. Each episode we will be hearing from leading experts and industrious South Yorkshire organisations who have really made a name for themselves in this space, whether that's through their innovative HR practices, smart recruitment tactics, or progressive attitudes towards people development. Spanning a wide range of different industries, these professionals will be sharing their experiences, the challenges they've overcome, and the winning strategies that have made them such success stories. So whether you're just starting up in business, or looking for fresh insights, or are simply curious to go behind the scenes of some well-known local employers, there's bound to be something here in the Knowledge and Skills Cast that grabs your attention. Get ready to be inspired as we shine a spotlight on leading regional businesses and the skills revolution happening here in South Yorkshire.
Good afternoon all, welcome to our first Knowledge and Skills Cast, where we will delve into the fascinating world of manufacturing. I'm Nikki Jones from the University of Sheffield's AMRC Training Centre, and today I am thrilled to be joined by our wonderful guests, Adam Bradley from Corrosion Resistant Materials and Layla Young from Polypipe. All right, guys, happy to have you here. First of all, I'm going to hand over to you, Layla, and ask you if you could introduce your business. What do you do in the business, and what does the business do?
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much, first of all, for the intro, Nikki. Layla Young, HR Director. Polypipe would be known around this neck of the woods, part of the Genuit Group, which is a larger group of organisations. Polypipe, known, Doncaster, born and bred, 44 years old organisation, thereabouts, might be out by a year. Manufacturers, Polypipe building products of plastic plumbing pipe, and been manufacturing and proud to be manufacturing in the UK for all that time. Genuit Group, FTSE 250 organisation, headquartered in Leeds, and we've got organisations across the whole of the UK, Ireland, the Middle East, selling a whole range of products. So it's a group that's grown through acquisition, so many different businesses. I'm the HR Director for the Sustainable Building Solutions business unit, which I'll not bore you with explaining how the organisation's structured, but we've got 3 business units, circa 1,500 people in my BU, so all in manufacturing facilities and every role surrounding that, from finance, HR, IT, logistics, planning.
Wonderful company. I've had experience of working with you for a number of years now, so thank you very much, Layla, for that. So over to you, Adam.
Adam Bradley, Corrosion Resistant Materials. I'm one of the directors there. My particular role is in sales and marketing and also in training. So that's one of the main reasons for being here today. As a company, we started 9 years ago, so we're probably a lot different to Polypipe, and we're kind of on the smaller scale as well. We supply materials into manufacturing companies, machine shops generally, and we supply in the UK and overseas as well. In total, there's 10 in the team.
I've looked up your companies and read a lot about you, and you're both from fantastic organisations. So I'm really pleased to have you here today. I'm sure that the listeners are going to get a lot out of this today. You've got some fantastic experience to share. So I just wanted to start by asking, and I'll come back to you, Layla, if you don't mind. Can you describe your business's approach to people development and training?
That's a huge question. It's a huge question. Let me try and break it down. I'm going to come at it from my business unit perspective because it's easy. What I would say is that each business within the Genuit Group, the formation of that group is relatively still in its infancy. If you roll it back, it was Polypipe Limited, and the group was growing through acquisition, and therefore that name didn't make much commercial sense to some organisations, and we had the birth of Genuit. And we are growing. We grow every year. And so that training and learning and development function, holistically, as you lifted the lid and look across the whole groups, still quite new. That being said, for the 40-odd years that Polypipe's been in existence, we have been training and developing. And so it is really in the core of what we do. The reason I say the question is big is because what we are extremely proud of, both Polypipe and the Genuit Group, is our diversity and inclusion ambition. We have a very strong strategic theme around inclusion and diversity, and with that comes equitable access. And that's equitable access to anything. We have a real strong ethos that you bring your whole self to work and we're going to keep you safe. And that's equitable access, therefore, to everything around that, and well-being and health and safety. So training and development is evolving rapidly, because as you look at everybody as an individual, and just in my 3,500 employees across the group, so you can't just blanket roll out a training. And there are mandatory trainings, FTSE 250 company, there's certain things, competition law, anti-bribery, slavery training, and, how you blow the whistle and how we keep you safe. We have to look and get that training to everybody. And then we have role-specific training and function-specific training. And it's quite the task, making sure, right, is it being delivered in a way that everybody can receive it? Is it, somebody said to me the other day, I went to a creative marketing agency and we were talking about effective communication through organisations that have got different demographics. 85% of the organisation in my business unit are not sat at desks. They're manufacturing, they're driving lorries, the salesmen out on the road, or they're in the warehouse, they're picking, they're packing, they're actually manufacturing. So how do I get the content to them? And the creative agencies said, switch your thinking to think of them as consumers. So how do they going to want to consume your training? So huge question, and we come at it in a lot of different ways. It takes a lot of creativity. We've got an extremely strong L&D team. The world of work is complex, it's changing, and every next generation that come through want it different. And the generations that have been with you from the start, it's a very good company to work from. People come and they stay. We've got people with 30, 35, 40 years service. They want their training different to that 18-year-old that's just walked in. And we've got to make sure we do it that way. So
I think we'll have to explore this down a bit down our questions, because there's a lot to unpick there. I'm not sure we'll unpick everything today, but really interesting stuff. Over to you then, Adam.
It's a massive question, but obviously for us, we're a family-run company, and our team is like family to us. So the last couple of years, we've been bringing people through the apprenticeship scheme, which has been really successful for us, because then we can train our own, and giving them not just the skills for the job, but the values of the company, and that's key to us. Bringing people into the company who can add their own values to the team. And we do offer training, but one of the big things that we do is it's kind of, you're thrown in the deep end. You have to learn on the job, because we're a small team, and it's not just that's your job role. You can pick up other skills. So we've got Lucy, for example, who's doing sales and marketing, but she's dropped into production, she's dropped into the warehouse, dropped into accounts. So she's understanding the entirety of how the company works. And I think that's important, to get that overall view of how a company works. So how do you fit into that? How's your job fit, and how does it influence other departments? Yeah.
No doubt about it from both of you. Training and development is embedded across your organisations, whatever the size is such a vital part. And I think that's probably a key message that everybody can take away today, is that has to be embedded into your organisation.
The Genuit Group we are members of the 5% Club. So we have pledged to say that 5% of our entire workforce will be earning and learning. That's no mean feat. And then you have to look at the life cycle of an employee, and you have to look at the life cycle of somebody leaving school. You've got you've got work experience, and you've got T-levels, and you've got apprentices, you've got graduates. One size absolutely cannot fit all, but it's so lovely to hear how you do it. It's the absolute opposite end of our spectrum, but that real wholesome, yes, you work in sales and marketing, but come and experience the shop floor.
It's really important. And one of the things that you touched on with the T-levels, we do bring younger people in to do work experience as well. And that helps our apprentices, because I get them training. I get them mentoring, because I've got time to do it half the time. So I've passed on my skills to them, and then they're passing on their skills to somebody else.
I mean, obviously, I'm a real supporter of education, being from education, but, I see we have about 600 apprentices, and I see the impact they have on business, but also when school, young school pupils come to visit, they sell apprenticeships, they sell training better than we could ever sell them. So, and we see what they do, and it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful to have them in the organisation. Okay, so next question then. So I'll back to you, Adam. So next question, what are your key challenges that you're facing in your business at the moment?
I don't think it's just in our business, but because I speak to a lot of people within the metals industry, and the key challenges are attracting young people to want to join the industry. It's not something you think, well, I'm at school, I want to go and join the metals industry, I want to be in manufacturing. It's often not talked about a lot in schools. So that's an industry issue that we're trying to address, and trying to go into schools and do more work with younger people and show how exciting it can be. And it's retention as well. Retention is a tough thing for us and for other companies. Making sure that people are feeling valued within the company, but also that they've got progression, that they can achieve what they want to achieve. We can offer that to some extent because we're a small company, but then others have moved on to bigger organisations just because that's what they want and that's what they want to experience. But for me, that's quite rewarding because you brought somebody in from school, you've trained them up, and then they've kind of thought, well, I actually want to push on with my career.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, on to you.
I don't think we've recovered from COVID. I think it dramatically changed the world of work. The 20th or the 30th of February 2020, we worked in the office Monday to Friday, 9 till 5, and that's what happened. All right, give or take the flex, and I'm not supposed to, that's not everybody. And now all of a sudden, everybody wants to work from home, or there's an entitlement, and we recruit all the time for varying seniority roles, and there's almost this given expectation of flex and hybrid. So we navigate that, and that is a business challenge to navigate. Because for sure, when you're trying to build an organisation like ours that's got strong values, they're called our trademark behaviours and expectation. When you have to be present to feel that you tribe as human beings. If you're at home, you're tribing to being at home. You're not. So there's presence.
They do that community as well.
It is.
When you're trying to attract people into the business, or in our case, students. You want there to be a vibrant, environment for them to come into, where they see lots of people and they feel the excitement of the organisation.
So there's that. That's a challenge, and it continues to be a challenge. I think still on the theme of the impact of COVID, it obviously killed overnight work experience. And I can remember being at a conference last year, and they were on about virtual work experience. I still can't get my head around what that is. Because that whole, I didn't coin this phrase, and I wish I could attribute it to whoever it was, the see it to be it concepts around those young school children today need to see it to be it. And that role model isn't always at home. We're sat in South Yorkshire, Rotherham girl, I know this demographic. Based in Doncaster now, I know that demographic. Not every home is blessed with role model people there who, right, when I grow up, I want to be this. So, we killed work experience. And I remember my work experience. It was Trident, it was called. And you went out and you had an amazing 2 weeks. Ours were 2 weeks. And then you start to think and be creative about, I want to be this and I want to be that. And, that COVID broke that. And the other challenge, given we're talking about knowledge and skills, I think when people talk about a skill gap, nobody really talks about how we're going to fix it, but they talk about a skill gap, or, we need this and they've not got it. I think the bigger movement at play for me is school leavers are leaving not ready for work. They're not ready for the world of work. Nobody in that journey between kind of 11 and 16 or even into primary school has kind of got them ready. And I'm talking real basics like manners and respect and turning up on time and, being engaging and being present. And they're just falling out of school with this like, I don't know what to do. And so many mock interviews I've been in. And he said, what do you want to do when you leave school? I don't know.
I think that touches on what you were saying, Adam, is about, slightly different, but just attracting young people into your industry. We were talking about this earlier, Layla, about careers advice and things like that. So, are you kind of thinking the same as Layla here, that people aren't ready?
Absolutely. I mean, COVID had a big effect. I agree with you completely, Layla, on young people. But I think as well, there's not enough time dedicated to curriculum on just general day-to-day life skills. It's one of the big things when apprentices come to us at 16. We have to teach them the basics: how to get on a bus, how to get to work, how to make a drink, how to look after themselves. You become parents, and that's a big challenge for employers. It takes time, and they have to learn their job as well. But it's about the individual and them growing up. I'm not seeing even at 18. There's still a lot for them to life experience to get through. And I think as well, schools have got a big part to play in educating, not just about you doing maths and English. You have to get your results because that's how they're driven. They have to look at certainly careers in a different light, on getting people interested in all sorts of different careers, and not just go to university. I think that for me is what I see a lot of at schools, even on careers days and open days that you go as an employer. A lot of the kids are still saying, well, I'm going to go to university. I want to go to university. Well, what are you going to do with that? Great, fantastic. What are you going to do? I don't know. I want to do this course. And where's that going to lead you to? I don't know. And it's that safety net. School's a safety net. It's very comfortable for them. They feel comfortable there. And then they see university as another school, more comfort. And the world of employment is quite a scary place to be for these young people. So the more they can go into businesses and speak to business leaders and do the work experience, the more comfortable they'll feel.
The gap between the world of school and the world of work is still huge. If anybody thinks it's moved any closer, they would have to convince me otherwise. And I, in addition to what I do day to day, I am an enterprise advisor, which I think if you boil down that role to its simplest reason to exist, it is to bridge the gap. But you're so right. I can remember my careers advice. I'm 43, right? We had big careers catalogues, and you'd go. Wouldn't it be like, right, this hour now, today, you're going to go to the library and look at the careers magazines. They were like holiday, remember travel agents, but really thick, and I'd thumb it, and you'd be like, oh, I'll be an air hostess. That's what I wanted to be, right? And you'd find a salary, and you'd be like, right, okay, that was the sum total of careers advice. In addition to your work experience week, and we had one mock interview. And I sit back some days and I think, I'm not convinced we're much further away. No, the catalogues have gone all right, but you have careers fairs. We spoke about OD Live earlier. It's a huge event. It really is. It's massive. It's hosted in Doncaster. That's going to have to level up because I watched it this year, and they just come in. All they want is the pens. It's a day out of school. It's dead funny. We're messing about with friends. We're walking around. I think organisations have a duty to play there to really start to bring to life. These are the roles, manufacturing, sales, marketing, supply chain, IT, finance, and really start to captivate their minds. But the gap is just so big. And careers curriculum, I just don't think is progressive.
So as a post-16 training organisation, and on behalf of all the post-16 training organisations, what can we do? So we do lots of careers events, we go to schools, but what more could we be doing, or what would you like to see us doing that would kind of help to bridge some of that gap?
I think a triangulation between you as a training provider and a business. Because I had a really powerful conversation with somebody the other day about truly there's nothing worse in an organisation than being sat in front of a 21-year-old that's just left university with that edgy feel. I've had it myself, but I've got a degree now. That's it. I'm worth £45,000. You are not. Let me tell you why. Because the schools, and you touched on it, and you are so right about they leave them, so they do nothing really with them in the 5 years apart from get them exam ready. They're not naturally academic, so then they don't do the best. So we've not got A's and B's at GCSEs. We're really rocking down the bottom. We might have managed to see what we're D&E. Then the institution will have kept them. Well, do A-levels. You weren't academic, but stay and do A-levels. And then they fail them. And then they go and do a wild degree in something totally random. and then they're riddled in debt. They've had a great 3 years partying, and now they want employing. That post-16 apprentice route will always be my favourite. You know, I get asked every day, degree or apprenticeship, unless you're going to go and read like classics or law, or you're going to be a doctor and you need it. And I think the magic in that triangulation about saying, right, this is why, you know, you're going to set off the journey that I walked with this individual was, you leave school at 16, you went to do these A-levels, you're telling me you don't like school already. So, right, you're 18 now, but your counterpart that went and got an apprenticeship, they're earning. They've been in society, they're earning, they're learning. And at the point that you're both 18, you're actually both equally qualified. And then off you go and party for 3 years. They keep earning, and they're getting promoted and earning more money, and they're getting more life skills. So I think there's a part to play in as getting into schools together and making almost the apprenticeship and the organisation come hand in hand.
I think that's a great point. I mean, some of the best stories that I've heard in education are the most successful people are those that have done an apprenticeship. And with the apprenticeships as they are now, they go right up to level 7, the postgraduate level. So they're earning, they've got no debt. I mean, it's just a wonderful pathway, isn't it? And would you say the same?
I agree completely. I think it's all in the branding of apprenticeships. It's seen as lesser than a university degree, which it shouldn't be. Absolutely not, it shouldn't be. And it's a different pathway. And at the end of it, like you say, there's level 7s, which is the equivalent of a degree or a doctorate or whatever it is nowadays, PhD. So it's just a different route to take, and there's the benefits of the apprenticeship that you're working while you're earning, you're developing your life skills, you're not racking up £50,000 worth of debt, etc., etc. So for me, when I go into schools, I'm always promoting that is a great route forward for you, and I'd just like to see the rebranding of it potentially, so it doesn't come across as second class, and schools get on board with this as well. And for the schools not to just think, well, they're the brightest in the school, so they've got to go and do a university degree. They're not as academic, so they're going to do apprenticeships. Why can't we just say, well, they're academic, they're the brightest in the school, why can't they do an apprenticeship? And try and capture some of the more gifted within the school to do an apprenticeship, and not just, well, they've got to go to university. It should be a personalised journey for each individual student.
What we see is we're seeing a lot more interest in apprenticeships now. So I think we had over 3,000 expressions of interest to do manufacturing apprenticeships, which is fantastic. What we didn't have was enough employers that were giving us the vacancies. What would you say, I'm going off topic a little bit now, but what would you say to any employers out there that have maybe not taken on an apprentice? What would you say? What piece of advice would you give, Layla, to them about taking on an apprentice and the value of that apprentice?
It's not easy. It's not easy. And businesses are businesses; they're not charities. So we're not flush with cash, and it's not headcount neutral. Budgets would dictate. We've got X number of roles. In escalating levels, there'd be a skill level needed. So it's not easy. What I would say is it's an amazing opportunity to grow your own. We have a really strong sustainability. Our vision is creating a sustainable life. Well, that's not just about recycling and CO2 and your carbon footprint. That's about the sustainability of your people as well. So you take a school leaver, they will be with you, all being well and everything goes well, for years and years and years, and they'll grow your way, and they'll grow to your values and your beliefs. And so it is an opportunity to grow your own, and it's a sustainable way to do it. Taking them later, they've seen more, they've picked up some bad habits along the way, they're a bit more risky. So yeah.
Any advice from you, Adam?
Very similar. I mean, just try it. If you never tried it, try it. It's definitely rewarding for the company as well as the individual. When we first started, we were bringing in more experienced people within the company, and struggling to train them, because it's often hard to train somebody who's been doing what they've been doing for 20 years and trying to teach them a different way of doing it. So by bringing apprentices in, like we say, we can train our own, we can put our own ethos and mentality into those individuals. Times are tough in manufacturing, and there's a lot of companies out there who are who would love to recruit people, but just simply can't at the minute. And there's some organisations who are having to cut back on individuals. One thing I would say is if there's ever an opportunity where somebody does take particular leave, then why not bring them in, have a go.
Thank you. That's good advice, I think. Okay, so I better talk a little bit about automation now, and as that's part of the title. So, again, Layla and I had a little bit of a conversation about this earlier on. So, how does automation factor into your business? What's the what is it in terms of manufacturing? Then, how does it factor into your organisation? So, I'll go to Adam first.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're within the business, within the actual manufacturing side, we're basically cutting, packing, shipping. So there's not much automation, robotics automation, so to speak, in our business. But where it's coming strongly is in the processes, is in order processing, data input, for example. And we're starting to use a lot more AI for what you would class as more data entry, menial tasks, so that somebody's not just sat there at a computer all day inputting data. That means then we can upskill them and they can go out and do more interesting roles, sales, marketing, go to exhibitions, so for example. So where before it would be quite laborious to get maybe an order through from start to finish, because we've automated a lot of the systems, it's a lot simpler. And you can do it from your phone, you can do it on the road, you can do things quicker and more effective.
So do you see a world without automation in it?
I see it becoming stronger. I see AI growing. I see automation growing. I see the technology grows. People can do more with it, which frees up time. Time is precious in businesses, especially for one of our size. We've only got so many people we can employ, so much time in the day.
Layla?
I think we've got to stop throwing the word around.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit lofty, and I've sit it next to a load of other words like strategy and sustainability that people just drop, and it means something very different to everybody. And I think if you're talking about automation, if you look at the different generations, there's a sweet spot generation, probably late 40s into mid 50s, that'll petrify them because they'll think it's going to make them redundant. Somebody's going to come along and do it for me. If I look at polypipe building products, yes, we've got robotic machines. We've also got people stood around them as well. So, yes, there are robots. Yes, we've got, we're not manufacturing 4.0, if that's what we're not there. Yes, there are robots in our factory. There are also 1,500 people. So I think we've got to be careful with the word. Yes, we have a strong drive and a desire for lean organisation. So the old principles of lean that really still got a place in business. And we've just set off on a huge pledge in line to 5% to educate all of our manufacturing operations, warehouse logistics people in lean, and taking it right back to that bit level 2, building it up from the ground and giving everybody a qualification. And yes, in there's a sprinkling of automation, and yes, but we don't talk about it like that. There's other ways to talk about it. And I think if you look at this generation about to leave school, it's all fast, it's on demand, it's real time, it's now, and ChatGPT is going to write my homework for me, and there's ain't nothing I can. And I sat yesterday in a conference about, we're telling you modern methods of construction and why roles in construction are not seemingly sexy enough anymore. Because, well, hold on, I want to be a YouTuber, or I'm going to write, ChatGPT, I'm going to have a job that's not even here. Hold on, people still need to build buildings. But I'm sat in the audience with ChatGPT, asking it, we've got some sustainability conversation going on, like way out of my head on my carbon neutral footprint house building, and it's telling me.
You can give some fantastic motivational speeches written very quickly, by the way.
Really good birthday poem. All you have to put in is like your friend's name and the birthday, and it's like, look, this is
amazing.
But I don't equally, it's going to have to find itself in the curriculum soon, because there's a gap. I go back to that skill gap comment around, yes, to your point, we're automating processes. We've got CRMs, you've got ERPs in your organisation, we've got HR software. Every function's got some software that's automating and making things better.
So, there's I think that regardless of your type of organisation, most people are kind of looking at lean They're looking at technologies that are used to make more efficiencies, etc., etc. So we accept that that's part of our world. The skill system that we've got at this moment in time, then, and we talk about skills gap and skill gaps, but the skill system that we've got at this moment in time, is it meeting the needs of business? Go to Adam.
In a word, no. I think it comes down to what Layla said earlier. It's this training providers and businesses working together, creating what businesses need for today. And it's really difficult. We've just touched on automation and AI. And the world that we're working in today is not going to be the same as is in 4 years, 5 years' time. You're taking somebody on that skills journey, but you're trying to prepare them for the world of work in 4 or 5 years' time. So it's really difficult. If there's more collaboration between business and training providers, and we can kind of direct the way it's going in terms of what is learnt and what is trained, then I think that will help. That will definitely help businesses move forward.
I know I keep saying this, I'm sorry. I think the question's too big because every business is different. Whether it's got 10 employees or 10,000 employees, then it wants something different. Their skill requirement, if you boil it down, its basic meaning is we want a skill in something that the population don't have, where we're recruiting from. And that, it always takes me then to diversity and equitable access, and your recruitment strategies have got to be wider than they've ever been, because you are going to need to be pulling from really diverse areas. And when you do, that's when the magic happens, because actually the skills are there. I think I go back to the gap between the world of school and the world of work, and I think that training provision, that post-16, I think there's a place to play again in that triangulation with businesses to say, right, we are where we are without the leaving school. These are the skills that we need, and everybody's different. How can we help together to bridge the gap? And that's, I think you made a great comment about, rebranding that apprenticeships and actually almost giving it a rebirth. I think that's a really good call. And that's going to have some work readiness in there, in acknowledgement that they're not. And it's going to have to factor in, advanced technologies and other things where businesses are seeing a seismic shift.
I guess the key message that I'm getting is the need to rebrand and to really shift the message around how important apprenticeships are, and they are an equitable pathway. I think the collaboration between post-16 providers and employers. I think we know careers advice. We want a better careers advice for pre-16. But I think that you're right. There's so many different businesses wanting so many different things. So you almost can't have a list of the skills that are needed. What we've got to do is be agile, I think. We've got to be prepared. We've got to be agile. We've got to work together to ensure that whatever's coming over now and over the next few years, we are prepared.
It's a partnership.
It is partnership.
It's a partnership.
Yeah.
Thinking, if you look at any part of your business, in your supply chain, you'll have people providing you raw materials for years. They understand your specification, they understand your business, they understand how you work, they deliver on time in full. Adapt that same mentality to the supply chain of your recruitment, and you expect, you're a strong partner for that post-16 provision and switch the thinking. And if you ever sit with a 14, 15-year-old at a school and when they say, I'm going to go to university, and you ask them why, and then stop and hang the silence there and let them tell you the why on the apprenticeship. It's not that they're important. It's that it's a thing of all by itself. It's not important. It's an option.
Yeah.
It's as equal to
a
degree. But you got to understand, and I don't think it's got off the ground, actually. I got asked to be part of something about kind of personas around, who you are around at that age where you're making your choices. So year 9, what am I going to be and where am I going to go? And being really comfortable enough to say, I'm not academic, that, I don't know. And I always, if I do a mock interview, and I always say, if you don't know the answer to what you want to do when you leave school, say, right now I don't know, but I'm looking at all my options. I'm exploring all my opportunities, but then do. And it's that when you partner with an organisation, Polypipe well, sure whoever provides, CRM's apprenticeship knows you really well. You know what we want and we know what we need. And so you can get them into the school. And
showing young people today as well.
It is.
To make a choice of what they want to do and what they want to be. And I just think there needs to be that more open approach to actually, you don't have to know now where you want to go. And you can also change careers. And I got to this point where I got 2 degrees and then I got a job and I tried the job for the first time and didn't like it. Didn't like it. And it was like, wow, I just spent all this time and I could have done something else.
And that's where I think businesses have. I used to speak to Julie Hussey, who coordinates the enterprise advisors for Rotherham now. I mean, she is a rock star. She's an absolute warrior and a hero, and we need more her. And we were talking about, teachers teach. That's what they chose to do. They do not know about finance roles, IT roles in HR, manufacturing, shipping, planning, picking. They don't know that.
I never left school.
They can't be the role model. They can't inspire you into them roles. And so when it's mandated that businesses have to give back to schools, we'll be in a better place.
I kind of agree. I mean, I have this conversation all the time with my colleagues. We expect teachers to know about manufacturing. Why would they? So we do it, and I know other providers are now starting to do a lot of work around, with teachers as much with young people, to ensure that when they're talking about manufacturing, they understand what it is. And actually, when we've had teachers into the training centre, they absolutely love it. Can't get them out at the end of the day. It's brilliant, but they don't know, right? They're not qualified to talk about manufacturing.
Absolutely not. They're not qualified, but you can't blame schools.
No.
On this, they haven't got a lot of time today as well. They're dictated by government that they have to do so much maths, so much English.
Yeah, agree.
My daughter's 14. She's just going to year 10, and half of her timetable is maths and English. Important skills, don't get me wrong, but
when we were at school, they always used to say, you'll not always have a calculator on there. Then we got our iPhones and we're like, oh, we showed you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure, because I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to recruiting candidates then. So how do you what's your recruitment process? So from your initial job posting right through to your final candidate selection, what are you looking for? What are the kind of attributes you're looking for?
Conversation with a colleague the other day, and when you think your phone's listening, like for sure now I think my phone's listening, because me and her said, do you think we should publish the interview questions? I think it's a bit aged now to be like, tell me about a time when, and like stitch the poor candidate up. It's horrific. We've got to be, that whole process needs to mature. And then I got an email from Personnel Today, which is like the CIPD magazine. It's like, John Lewis now publishes interviews. I'm like, oh, damn it, they beat us to it. It's going through a bit of an evolution, because if you look at the diversity that we view the whole spectrum, we've got a real strong partnership with Harrison College in Doncaster, which provides us neurodiverse interns. You cannot put a neurodiverse individual through a standard recruitment procedure as you'd know it. They just can't present the best version of themselves. And so you have to, the agility that we're having to display now, and I'm blessed, right? We've got infrastructure. We've got HR teams, we've got group reward, we've got group talent, we've got the rigor and the infrastructure in our organisation. So, I still maintain some of the classical principles are important. So the last email I sent before I came here was to Thomas Wharton in Doncaster to say, delighted to be able to offer you 8 placements for work experience. So we'll have 8 in a week. But here's the thing, attached to the job descriptions, I want a CV, I want a covering letter, and they'll be interviewed, because these are not being gifted. There's 70 odd kids that want these jobs, so I still think there's something around, presenting the best version of yourself and being able to articulate, who you are and what you're about. When we get through the process, one of the important, it's a 2-way purchase. So, you're selecting your potential candidate for your role. They're selecting you as an organisation. So we always have diverse panels. We always have a very diverse experience. You'll come in, you might meet the initial hiring manager, but you'll meet some peers. You'll absolutely walk the site. And that is when some people go, oh, I didn't realise it was like this. and multiple touch points and multiple opportunities to present yourself in the best way, but also see inside Genuit what we're all about and what we. And like I say, we're blessed. We've got the infrastructure. But I speak to a lot of organisations in our network who, there might be 5 people. Then you probably need to meet all 5 because, bring them in and just defuse the situation, get a coffee, sit round, have a chat.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Adam? Because
Well, we're on the smaller scale, so we generally, when we're looking to bring somebody in, it's all about them as an individual. So we'll just sit and have a coffee. We really do. Get them in, have a coffee, have a chat. Tell me about yourself. I've been into school this morning, and that was one of the questions that one of the students asked. Pre-prepared, obviously got a list of them, but one of the questions they'd asked, and I said, well, the really important thing is you've got to learn that ability to sell yourself, talk about yourself. CVs can feel a little bit formalised at times because it's like you've got to include your education, you've got to include this and your experience. And at 18, they haven't really got an experience. You see a CV, it's going to be basic. So you have to, if you're employing youngsters who are 18, you've got to get under their skin. You've got to find out more about who they are.
seems like you spend a lot of time and effort, regardless of the size of your organisations, finding the right fit for your organisation and making sure that they want to be in your organisation as well.
Absolutely.
That's really key.
Absolutely. It's selling those opportunities that are within your company, because it is a two-way thing. They do have other positions that they can apply for. And a lot of the time, the apprentice wage is quite low, and that's a battle, that's a challenge, because youngsters are seeing it at 18 and thinking, well, I'm going to get a job at McDonald's and it's £12 an hour. That's the battle a lot of smaller businesses are having.
You've got to be able to, I think you start with why, right, on everything. And so why would they choose us? Because you're right, they could go to the next company or the next company. So we always stop and think, right, why are they going to choose us? What can we offer? And it is that longevity of career, and it's that, opportunities to advance and opportunities to divert. To your point, I started being a teacher and this is not for me. That's fine. You can get to the junction and turn left. We've got all these options. So always present ourselves in a way. And you have non-negotiables when you're recruiting too. It is still scary. It's still risky bringing people in.
So, what strategies do you employ to ensure that you've got this talent pipeline coming in? And then what's your thoughts around succession planning and how you're kind of managing that end on it?
I'll take the succession one first. The knowledge in manufacturing, it always makes me smile. I mean, I just love manufacturing, that concept that pieces come in one end of your factory and then it churns out something somebody's going to buy. I love it. And you're them time-served veterans in engineering or mechanical engineering, or the guy that comes in on the 1st of January and turns on the extruding machine and the moulding machine. The knowledge is in the head. And we look after them and we keep them and they stay forever. And of course, then at one point it's time for the next chapter and they're going to retire. Knowledge transfer is a big thing for us because it's power for some people. In this crazy, scary world where people are throwing around comments like automation and AI and Layla start getting answers to ChatGPT, that demographic feel vulnerable. And we can't go up to them anymore. And rightly so, have you got any idea when you're going to retire? Because we've got a bit of planning to do. So you've kind of got to work with them and extract the knowledge out of their brain, not too soon that they become vulnerable. And it's about the real magic. And if you love seeing it, when you get somebody at the back end of their career and you give them an apprentice, and you're like, they're yours for 2 years. We want them to be you. That then isn't it just amazing? It's just the best thing. It's the best thing.
I know, I agree.
And it's like, come with me and I'm going to show you my tool shop, or I'm going to show you how to work. Oh, they really care about them. They do.
They're not family, but they care about them and they nurture them.
And they'll go to the apprenticeship awards and they're like,
it's just amazing.
It's just the best thing. So knowledge transfer happens all the time, and it's about spreading your knowledge. And when we do some of the lean activities, some of the ethos around it is, let's get lean, let's get more efficient to free up the time to be creative, to be innovative, yeah, to share your knowledge, to spread that. So that's the end. Remember what the first part
talent, bringing in new talent.
I think Well, you've got multiple touch points, haven't you? So if we can crack back work experience, I think it's like a cheeky little 3-week interview, which is why we do put a bit of rigor around it. And you're absolutely right about CVs, and I go in and do CV workshops, but we don't. We just start with a A3 piece of paper and they write the name in the middle, and I'm like, right, just shoot off and tell me everything. And then we go around it, and I'm like, right, what do we like? What don't we like? What are we really, really passionate about? What do we do when we're not here? And I always have to carry it by, please just don't game. Please just don't go home and game. So work experience, nice touch point. T-levels, interesting. Another opportunity to have a little two-way buy.
They're getting to see the world. They're getting to see the world of manufacturing and making choices, actually, before they're kind of signing up to anything for the next 3 or 4 years. And before you're signing up to 3 and 4 years with an engineer, and it's... they come in, I think that gives them an opportunity to really see what manufacturing is all about.
And every time you have somebody in, you'll have exactly the same. At some point, they'll go, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, wow, I didn't know. I mean, I learn something every day. So there's that, this year in placement and year in industry. We're just about to kickstart this year. We have had one before, but it's had a relaunch and
Are these graduates?
Yep, yeah. So we've got an official graduate programme starting in September, which again is another road in. And there's a place for people who had no, we another.
Of course, there is.
There's people with low social mobility, and this is the new thing. Can you remember when we very first ever asked you to tell us what your sexual orientation were? You were arms went up, and you're like, "What do you want to know that for?" And now we just give that information freely, don't we? The new hot one is social mobility. Yeah. So the 3 questions around, were you the first university? Did you have free school meals? What kind of school did you? Well, that's really got people's backs up. But when you can extract the data and you look at the social mobility. There'll be people in that demo, 25 to 35 who don't have anything, didn't have an apprenticeship, they left school and grafted. There's a place for them too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Succession planning and
succession planning, yeah. Well, I'll start with bringing new talent. I'll start with that because that's probably the easiest one for us. So we have young people coming in on work experience. That's great. That's coming back now. The amount of phone calls I get all the time about, can you take this student? Can you take this student? We can probably take about 2 at a time, which we'd love to take more, but we just can't take any more because.
But you want to give them a good experience. So
I want to give them a good experience.
That you can't.
And what I don't want them to do is just to come in and say, right, that's your job for
a
week. Sit there and manually input or whatever. We want to get them to go around all the different departments. So they'll spend a day in accounts, spend a day in sales, spend a day in the warehouse. And again, it's giving them different roles to experience. One of the things that a lot of young people say to me when I go into schools is, tell me about manufacturing. I'm like, well, actually, I'll tell you about which bit. It's massive. I'll tell you about all the different roles we have. And I was in Swinton Academy this morning talking to 6th form students, year 12. And one of the young lads said, I love maths. And I want to do something with maths. I said, well, have you ever thought about accountancy? Every company's got an accountant and we need accountants. Have I thought about that? And then we got talking about that. And we the succession leads into that a little bit because our accountant, who's Chris, one of the owners, his mum, is still our accountant. She's in her 70s now. And we did the same. We brought somebody in as an understudy, as an apprentice for her. And she mothered him. She loved it. She loved passing on all the knowledge. And Jack was just fantastic. I mean, Jack was with us for 2 years, and unfortunately, we're now succession plan because he moved on because he wants to be a fully fledged accountant, not just a bookkeeper and company like that. So we got him ready, and we got him excited, got him interested.
Do you not think that if we've got an organisation said this to me once, that they didn't mind people moving on, as long as there was enough people coming into the talent pool. So, and that I just thought that was a really interesting approach. And I think when that is really important because people will move on. You can't progress everybody within an organisation.
They'll not shop leave. In the spirit of no surprises, if, they'll say, do you know what? I'm probably ready to move on now. And that's fine. You want that healthy level of attrition. You've looked after them, you've made them, they'll tell you in enough time for you to have somebody coming behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always an opportunity for somebody else to come through. And I think that's why for businesses, it's so important to engage with schools and school leavers and get that talent pool coming through.
I mean, that message come across really strongly for me today. I have two organisations that are very different size, different kind of manufacturing processes. But the key messages that are coming through is the way you recruit, your openness around recruitment, your, looking at different ways to bring in a diverse population, your commitment and energy and passion towards school, working with schools, working with providers, and you're making that commitment. And I think that's a key message for us all, really. We've all got to put in, if we want to get out of this system, what we need.
You cannot, as an organisation, irrelevant of your size, sit and say, we've got a skill gap problem. I'll go and do something about it then.
Yeah.
Help bridge the gap, help plug the skills. And also drop the skill gap. What skills? What are you struggling to recruit? Is it finance? Is it supply chain? Is it injection molding? What is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving on then to some final questions. What are you most proud of within your organisation?
That philosophy around bring your whole self to work and we will keep you safe. Your whole being is through all our leaders. And that's just not your physical health and safety. That's your whole well-being, that holistic health of you. We will take care of you. And we really do.
Some really strong values there, isn't there? Some really, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar for us. It's nice when people enjoy coming to work, and that's the key. It's keeping people for a long amount of time. But if people can work with a smile on the face,
I always think it's the same with students. If they feel safe and cared about, and we underestimate that kind of caring about them, feeling like we really care about them as individuals and about their careers. If they feel safe in their environment and they feel you're investing, not necessarily financially, but just investing in them. Or anything. Any mistakes that you think, by gosh, that I had to learn from that?
I mean, I think on a business sense, and we're talking about apprenticeships today, it's not jumping on apprenticeships earlier.
Okay.
I think when we first opened the business, and you have to look at experience. Mm-hmm. But I think we could have saved ourselves a hell of a lot of money and pain if we'd have gone down the apprenticeship route sooner.
What mistakes have you made? You make them every day, don't you? And you've got to learn from them. And I think that's the other, just jumping back on what you're proud of as an organisation. We're very open to the fact that you don't always get it right, always first time. But the agility we display around, right, look, learn, move on. Don't do it again. I think personally, some of the, that generation I sit in, and I never know if we're X or millennials, but we swinged on it, depending was cut in the calendar. Unconscious bias, and it's in everybody, and it's fine. And I say this to leaders all the time: don't beat yourself up about having it. It's a survival technique. In that whole fight and flight, simple human being. Unconscious bias keeps you safe. It just really quickly assesses, is this different? I have to keep mine in check, just because persistently right for all the right reasons about having a diverse slate. And you try attracting a diverse slate for an operations director role in South Yorkshire. It's hard. It just is. But that's fine. I mean, it's not doable. But my own unconscious bias will sometimes. And I'll catch myself and I think, oh, there I go again.
Okay, so what are you working on next in your organisation? What's the next big thing for you?
Well, we're looking at different sectors. I think that's the biggest thing. Because we've traditionally been in oil and gas and the energy system, and we're trying to kind of diversify into more renewables. We're working on sustainability. That's key, not just in people, but in general with metals. I think if we can get involved in certainly in renewables and possibly automotive, it would set us up for a better future, because things are going. The oil and gas they're going to be turned off at some point. Although you never know with the government at the minute; it flip-flops from one to the next. So see what happens with that.
Well, we've just launched the strategy for the next 5, which has got a big sustainability theme through it, a big growth theme through it, and we're just in the process of establishing and rolling out our business system, so that irrelevant of where you are, whether you're at a new air or an AD or a polypipe site, it looks and feels it's operating the same. So that's quite significant as an organisation for its growth. Big people agenda around ED&I and equity, and we're rolling out a new HRIS, which is a huge change in the organisation, really pushing it to grow up with regards to the roles in the business. So that frontline leader role, where it used to have its hand held by HR, well, there's a break now, and they're becoming quite independent roles, and they're standing on their own 2 feet, and they're going to manage their own people. That's quite a culture shift. There's a lot of technology coming in and new systems coming in. So as a business, we really are growing up while still holding on to what we do, which is manufacture plastic life and plumbing. So, yeah.
I mean, that kind of leadership piece is a really interesting, and it's becoming a real topic of conversation, because that's the thread throughout every business. I mean, I think key things that I've got from today is that the importance of the collaboration. Yes, there are skills gaps, too many to name. But the key is working together, getting into schools, and ensuring that we've got that agility and flexibility. So I'm hoping we're at the start of this journey. So I'm hoping with things like the Institute of Technology, which is a Department for Education initiative, focuses on a STEM around level 4 and 5, brings us all together with employers, actually, helps us to derive a curriculum that's future-proofed, if you like. I'm hoping with the initiatives that we've got in the region now, and we're very fortunate to be an Institute of Technology and having an LSIP and such wonderful employers. I'm hoping that we see change. I'm hoping that apprenticeships will be pushed up with our apprenticeship hub that we've got through Simca now. I'm hoping that we really see a rise in apprenticeships, more employers taking on apprentices, and a real collaboration with employers, because I think that's kind of key today. So I just wanted to say a massive, massive thank you. You've been so wonderful. It's a real privilege to talk to you both, actually. I think our listeners will get a lot out of today. I think you've shared some real strategies and real sort of golden nuggets of how we should be working in this region. So I just want to say a massive thank you to you both.
Thank you for listening to the Knowledge and Skills Cast. We hope that, like us, you found this to be a fascinating discussion filled with useful insights and intriguing ideas about where our region is heading next when it comes to skills. As we wrap up each episode, I'd like to encourage you to also get involved with the conversation and to join us in celebrating those businesses that are innovating in our region. Whether it's by networking, engaging with their services, or simply spreading the word about the remarkable work they do, your support fuels the positive change happening in South Yorkshire. Please subscribe and share from whichever platform you're listening from today, and get involved with your local Chamber of Commerce as we strive to support skills development here in South Yorkshire.